Okay, so let us say this cell here above 100 is where I have got a negative opportunity cost. That means I need to make an allocation here. Okay, so this is my cell where I want to perform the allocations. Now, when I have this cell to be allocated, as the number of cells is going to increase, you can see now it is going to become 8, right? So I need to convert this into like 7 again, because if I put any values here, the other units will also change depending on the total demand and the total supply. Clear? Now, how do I form a loop from here? First thing, check whether we have some values or cells allocated next to it. You can see this 33 has been allocated here, which is just next to my X or the cell where I want to perform the new allocation. But if I draw an arrow, if I go from here to here, I do not have any other allocated cells from where I can make a turn. Okay. So what is the other option? I have 67 here and 100 here. Now I can go to 67 and I can move to 50 here. Okay, that is possible. Or even if I go to 100, I can move to 60 from here. Okay, let us go to 100 from here. So I'll draw one arrow from here to here. Okay, so I'll move from X to 100. Now to make a turn, I need to turn only from the allocated cell. So the turn is going to come from here. And I have to move up to the cell where there is an allocation. So 60 is where I have to go. So I'll put an arrow from here. Clear? Now, which is my other allocated cell where I can make a turn? Now I have a 10 here, but if you look at this row, I cannot turn from here because there are no allocated cells here. So I can move to 30 because we have a 50 next to it. So from this cell, I'll come here. Okay. Next, from here to 50, from 50 to 67, and finally from here to the cell where I started. Okay. Now this completes my loop or your closed circuit. Now what is the next step? I have to put the positive and the negative sign in the alternate cells. Now to start with the first cell from where actually I am going to perform the allocation, I'll put a plus sign here. So this becomes my plus here, alternate negative sign, then a plus sign here again. Next turn was here, so a negative sign here. Put a plus in this cell, and finally I have a negative here. Okay. Now look at the cells where I have put the negative values or negative signs, and the least is 30. So I'll take 30 and perform addition and subtraction depending on the signs which I have put. Okay. So this will help me get me the new matrix. Now, if you have doubts, please ask me now about creating the loop or anything else regarding the Modi method. Yes, guys, any doubts?
No, sir.
No doubts. Now, I hope whenever we have a test or any type of exam, there won't be any complaint that we have not understood the Modi method or how to draw a loop. Okay. You need to practice with different types of examples. Check whether you can perform the looping part, or whether it is not feasible. Let me know if you have any doubts. Okay. And you can directly send me a WhatsApp or you can call me up. Please remember. Clear? So I think this part is clear. Let us move to the next topic for today. Okay, the next topic which I'll be taking for the next unit is on probability. What are things that I plan to cover today? Okay, some introduction to probability. Then we'll see what are the satisfactory outcomes versus what is the total outcomes. Okay, some basic properties of probability and some terminologies. Secondly, we'll also see some rules, the addition rule and the multiplication rule. While covering the addition rule, we'll see the mutually exclusive events and non-mutually exclusive events as well. Similarly, for the multiplication rule, we'll see the independent events and non-independent events. Okay. Now to begin with, what do you mean by probability? It is just, you can say, the value which indicates what are the chances of a particular event to occur depending on the total outcome. Okay. So I'll go to the next slide. This is the brief description. Okay. It says that if I'm having an experiment where n number of possible outcomes are possible, that is the total, all possibilities, with equal probability. So every outcome has an equal chance of occurring. Then the probability that a specified event occurs will be equal to the number of ways a given event can occur divided by the total of all possible outcomes, which can be represented in this formula given down here. That is F upon N, where N is nothing but your total possible outcomes, and your F is the number of ways a given event can occur. For example, if I have a coin and I'm tossing the coin, there are only two outcomes which is possible. Either I'll get head or I'll get tails. Okay. So total number of possible outcomes are 2, right? And what is the probability that I will get a head? There's only 1, right? So 1 upon 2 is the probability. That is, you can write 0.50 is the probability that I will get a head when I toss a coin. This is a very simple example. Clear? Now, there are different types of problems which are asked in the question paper based on either coins, then your die, the rolling die, then your cards, the playing cards which you use. It can be 1 deck or 2 decks, depending on the type of problem they have asked. Okay, so we'll take such type of examples in the next slide, so you get used to such type of problems. Secondly, I want you to keep handy so that you can write it down, all the different possibilities. Now, when I represent the whole problem in picture form, it becomes easy for you to write it down. But if it is just plain words, interpreting that and understanding what the question means is very important. So let us go ahead here. Now, we have seen how to convert a frequency into probability in the previous chapter when we did simulation technique. Okay, so here we have one example where the frequency distribution of annual income for US families are given to you. And you can see the total of the frequency is coming to 69597. Now, if I ask you a question, what is the probability that the income, whichever family I pick, that family's income will lie between $25,000 to $34,999? Okay, has the net come? Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yeah, there was
Sir.
power failure. So I'll share the screen again. Okay, so if you want to find out the probability that the family has salary between 25,000 to 34,999, What will be the probability? Please do the calculation and you can tell me. Anyone can just unmute yourself and tell me the answer.
Sir, is it 0.14?
Okay, even I'm
14
doing it. Just 1 minute.
14.12%.
14.12%. Okay, that is in percentage. And if you want to call it in probability, it will be 0.14.
0.14.
Up to 2 decimal places. Right? It is simple. Now, I'll make a change in this question now. I want what will be the probability of the family having the salary between 15,000 to 49,999. Yes, anyone? What is the probability that the salary of the family lies between 15,000 to 49,999? There's something in chat. Let me check it out. Okay. Okay. The final answer Advaita is given as 0.46. So that is right.
0.46. Yes.
0.46. But if you look at the answer, when you do the calculation, it is coming as 0.4699, right? So it's better to, whenever you're coming up to 2 decimal places, it will be right. It will be 0.47 and not 0.46. Clear? So please round it up to 2 decimal places whenever you want to do it. Or if you want, you can also give in your up to 4 decimal places. But then you need to have consistency over all the probabilities which you are giving. Clear? One more rule, if you remember, I had told you all the total probability. Okay, if you find out the probability for each of this particular income or slab, you can say income slab, the total will be always 1. Agree with me, everyone?
Yes, sir.
So if I tell you, if I change my question now, what is the probability that the family income does not lie between 15,000 to 49,999? What are you supposed to do? We already found out the probability that it will lie between this range, which came to 0.47. So simply 1 minus 0.47 will give me the probability that the salary is not going to lie between 15,000 to 49,999. Is this clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Clear? So it will be just 0.53, right? That will be the answer. So the total probability is very important. You should know that the total probability is always 1. Okay, I think we can go and take one more example. Let me go to the next slide. Okay, now this I already asked you to do it, and I think everyone has done it properly. Now let us take one more example of the frequency distribution for students' ages. Okay, so we have frequency given down and the total is coming to 40. Now, as you are already aware of how to do it, can you tell me the probability of a student whose age is greater than 20 and less than 23? Greater than 20 and less than 23.
.3.
0.3. Great. I hope everyone is understanding it. Even though few of them are giving the answers, the others also should understand it. It's simple. What is greater than 20, 21 and 22 and so on. But one more condition, it should be less than 23. So there are only 2 ages, 21 and 22. So 7 plus 5 gives me 12. 12 divided by 40 will give me 0.3. Okay, very simple. Let's go ahead. Now, this is an example of a die, rolling die. Okay. How many possible outcomes are there in a die? Total 6 outcomes, right? Either I am going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 when I roll a die. Okay, but if I change this to 2 die or 2 dice, the number of you can say outcomes will be 6 into 6, that is 36.
36.
36.
Yes, simple.
Yes.
So number of combinations. Now comes the question. Let us take a single die here. What is the probability that when I roll a die, a 3 will occur?
1.
Simple, guys. 1 by
1 by 6.
1 by 6. Okay, because 1 is the outcome result which I'm looking for, and the total number of outcomes are 6, n, right? So 1 upon 6. Now, if I change the question here, I say, what is the probability that when I roll a die, the number which occurs or the event that happens is greater than 3?
1 by 2. 3 by 6.
3 by 6?
1 by
Any
2.
other answer? 3 by 6, right? It is 3 by 6. So we can change this to, either you can write 1 by 2 or you can write 0.5, right? Now let us see a pair of dice. So this is my combination here, you can see. If you represent this in a picture format, it looks very good. Okay, so we have all the types of combinations starting from 1, 1, and the last one is 6, 6. Okay, and the total, as I told you, total outcomes are 36. Now, after looking at this, let us find some questions for you. So in the next slide, I have some questions. I want you all to do it. Okay. So the first question is, what is the probability of a 1 and a 3 when I throw the dice? That means a combination of 1 and 3 should be there. Anyone?
2 by 36.
2 by 30. 2 by 36.
2 by 36. Okay. Simply, you can go back here. You can see there's only 1 and 3 here. And the other one is here, 3 and 1. Right? So there are only 2 possibilities divided by the total number 36. So 2 by 36. Great. What is the next one? What is the probability of 2 6s? Very simple.
1 by 36.
1 by 36, because there's only one chance that I'll get 2 6s, right? And what is the probability of at least 1 3? Now this you need to do it. Let me know the answer here. At least 1 3. That means 2 3s are possible. So if
So
you look
11
at this,
by 36.
11 by 36, right? So all the 10 options, or you can say, you can take this option first from here. We have 3 here. So there are 6 options here. So 6, then we have a 3 here. 7, 8, this we have already considered. 9, 10 and 11. Okay, so 11 by 36 is the right answer for this question. So 2 by 36, then 1 by 36, and finally 11 by 36 are your answers. Let us take a few more examples. Now here we have a sum of 2 dice given to you. So we need not go back to that picture format. Okay, and I have just given you a table where I've got the sum and the frequency. Okay, so what is the total frequency? Please do the calculation. It should be equal to how many?
36.
Even without doing the calculation, you should know it should be equal to 36.
36.
Because I have 2 dice, right? So the first question, what is the probability that the sum will be 5?
4 by 36.
4 by 36.
4 by
You can
36.
reduce this further.
4 by 36.
4 by 36.
1 by 9.
Now, because I have given you the sum, it becomes easy for you, right? If I do not give the sum, then you need to sit and do the calculation, okay, to find out the frequency. Okay, how many times 5 is occurring when I roll the dice, the total, the sum. Similarly, for 7, it will be 6 by
6 by
36
6 by 36.
or 1 by 6. Okay.
1 by 6.
Next question. What is the probability that the sum will be 10 or more? So we have 10 here.
6
So
by
10,
36.
11, 12. So add
1 by
this
6.
1 by 6.
1 by 6.
1 by 6. So 3 plus 2, 5, 5 plus 1, 6. 6 by 36. That can be reduced further to 1 by 6. Okay. Now comes the last question. What is the probability that the sum will be either 3 or less or 11 and or more?
3 by
6
36.
by
So you can see this 3 or less. So we have 2 plus 1 here. That is 3. And 11 and more. So again 2 plus 1, 3. So total is 6.
Sir, 1 by
Again
6.
6 by, yes, 1 by 6. That is the answer. Anyone has a doubt here? Now, please remember, to confuse you, the question will be drafted in a different way. Okay? So you have to interpret the question properly and then give the answers. Okay? Let us go ahead. So these are the answers. Okay? Now, this is an example where a coin, you can say a coin is tossed, right, for head and tails. How many times? 100 times. Okay, and we are performing simulation. Okay, as I told you, if I toss the coin for the first time, what is the, you can say, probability that head occurs is 0.5, because there are only 2 outcomes, right? But if I look at the number of experiments, if I continue this experiment many times, okay, please remember my average outcome of whether I get a head or a tail will always be around 0.5. Okay, so at a long run, what happens is the probability of a particular event occurring enters into a steady state. If you remember, we had done steady state when we did Markov chains, right? When we multiplied the matrices n number of times over a period of times, what happens? It enters a steady state because the value does not change further. Clear? So for a toss of a coin, please remember, across 100 times of experiment, the value will always be 0.5, whether it is head or tail. Let us go ahead. Now, there are some properties you need to know. The basic properties of probabilities, please note it down if you want. The first property is the probability of an event is always between 0 and 1. It cannot be negative, neither it can be greater than 1. The second probability or property, the probability of an event that cannot occur is always 0. The event which is not possible. Let us take an example. If I roll a die and say, what is the probability that a 7 will occur? Is there a chance of that event occurring? No. Okay, which is an impossible event. Clear? So in that case, it will be 0 by 6. And the third property, the probability of an event that must occur is always 1. That means if I have the guarantee that only this is going to occur in an event, then we can say the probability is 1. That means even the number of outcomes is only 1. Please remember here. That means the total value, the total outcome is only 1, and only that outcome is possible. Okay, so an event that must occur is always a certain event, and the probability is always 1. Okay, so these are 3 properties of probability, which are the basic properties. Let's take a deck of cards. Now, those who are used to playing cards, they might be aware of this. But all those who have not played cards, please look at the cards here. To give you basic information of the deck of a card, we have 52 cards in all, excluding the jokers, please. Okay. Then there are 4 suits, you can say. You can see each row represents a suit. And these are your face cards. Your Jack, Queen, and King are your face cards. Clear? Let us take some examples based on a deck of a card. So quickly give me some answers now. The event the King of a heart is selected. What is the probability?
1 by 52.
1 by 52, because we have only one king having a heart on it. Okay. First of all, if I tell you what is the event that a king is selected. So how many kings are there total?
4.
4 kings.
4 by 52.
4 kings, right? So it will be 4 by 52. And you can reduce that further. Okay. So if you want to have a combination, so when you want to write the answer, this will be 1 by 52, which can be also, like if I change this whole thing, there are only 4 cards available with me. So event a king is selected is always 4 by 52. Easy? Let's take another example. This can be reduced at 1 by 13. Okay. Now event a heart is selected. How many cards we have for hearts?
13 by 50.
13.
13. So 13 by 52 or 1 by
1.
4.
4.
Okay, 1 by 4. That is the answer. So this is looking easy. Now comes your face cards. How many face cards we have here? 12.
12.
12.
Right? So what is the event? In an event that a face card is selected?
12 by
12
52.
52. Great. It's getting easier now. Yes, that will be 3 by 30.
3 by
Now let us go ahead and see some terminologies. The first one is known as your sample space. That is nothing but your total outcomes. So what are the different types of events? All the possible outcomes will be known as your sample space. Okay. And what is an event? Okay. All the collection of this, you can say outcomes is a sample space. And any one of them occurring is known as an event. Okay. A subset you can call it. Clear? Now what is the probability notation written as? It is written as P into bracket E, where E is the event that is going to occur, or that is a probability that it is going to occur. Okay. So whenever you are writing an answer, you write P into bracket, the probability where it is going to occur. So for example, a king is going to occur. So you can write P into bracket king and then write the answer for it. Now, if I want to represent this in a Venn diagram, you might have come across this diagram before as well. Okay. This whole square is nothing but my total, you can say, outcomes. And a particular event occurring is represented in this circle here, E. Okay. Now, there are some relations which, to confuse you, they might ask you to find out the values for. The first one is not E. There's some this disturbance. Anyone who's unmute, please unmute yourself. Yeah. So there are 3 things which you need to be checking whenever you get some combination of events. The first one is the relationship using not, where we say E does not occur. Then we have and, the ampersand sign, where both A and B is going to occur. And the last one is your or. Now in case of or, either A or B or both the events are going to occur. Okay. Now, using this, let us see some examples. Okay. Now, the question, look at the question on top. Event not E, where E is the probability of drawing a face card. Okay. So, what is the probability that whenever I draw a card, it is not a face card? Yes.
40 by 52.
40 by 52.
40 by 52. Because if you remove the face cards, the remaining cards, okay, will be 40 and divided by 52. Next one, that can be reduced to 10 by 30. So if you look at the Venn diagram again, you can see this inner circle is your E, the event that will occur, and the outer part, the outside the circle but within the square, is your not E. Okay. Now there was a question where they had asked you to draw the Venn diagram along with finding the probabilities as well. Okay. So if they ask you to draw the Venn diagram, please, it is very simple. Put the square as the whole event or all the outcomes, and then you can draw the event as a circle. Now let us see the complementation rule. As I told you, the total probability is always 1. Okay. So for any event E, PE is given by, that is the probability that event E is going to occur, can be given by 1 minus probability that E is not going to occur. Make sense? Okay. Very simple. Please note down this formula, you can say, or the rule. Let us see some other rules as well. Now we have very less time remaining. There's around, I think, 1 minute left. So I won't go beyond this now today. Okay, I'll stop my presentation.